What if everything you think is real isn't? Have you ever stopped to wonder if the world around you, the thoughts in your head, and even your own sense of self might be nothing more than an elaborate construction of your mind? This isn't just a philosophical puzzle. It's a question that cuts to the heart of what it means to be conscious, to be human, and to exist in this vast and mysterious universe. Today, we're diving deep into the fundamental reality of consciousness. We'll explore whether our awareness is simply a product of our brains, or if it's something more, something that might reshape our understanding of reality itself. Let's start by considering what we mean when we talk about consciousness. At its core, consciousness is our subjective experience of the world. It's the feeling of being you, right here, right now. It's the redness of a rose, the melody of your favorite song, the taste of chocolate melting on your tongue. But where does this experience come from? Is it just neurons firing in our brains, or is there something more to it? To understand this better, we need to look at how our brains process information. Our brains are incredibly complex organs made up of billions of neurons that communicate with each other through electrical and chemical signals. These neurons work together to create our thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. But how exactly does this physical process give rise to our subjective experiences? This is where things get really interesting. You see, our brains don't just passively receive information from the world around us. Instead, they actively construct our reality based on the limited information they receive. Our senses take in a tiny fraction of all the available information in our environment, and our brains fill in the gaps, creating a seamless experience that feels complete and real. But here's the thing. This constructed reality isn't always accurate. Our brains can be fooled, and often are. Think about optical illusions, for example. These simple tricks can make us see things that aren't really there, or perceive things differently than they actually are. This raises a profound question. If our brains can be fooled so easily, how much of what we perceive as reality is actually real? This brings us to what philosophers and scientists call the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem is this: why do we have subjective experiences at all? Why does it feel like something to be you? Why aren't we just complex biological machines processing information without any inner experience? This question has puzzled thinkers for centuries, and it's still hotly debated today. Some argue that consciousness is simply an emergent property of complex information processing in the brain. Others believe that consciousness is something more fundamental, perhaps even a basic property of the universe itself. To explore this further, let's look at two major philosophical viewpoints: materialism and idealism. Materialism is the view that everything in the universe, including consciousness, can be explained by physical processes. According to this view, our subjective experiences are simply the result of complex neural activity in our brains. Idealism, on the other hand, suggests that consciousness or mind is the fundamental reality, and that the physical world is in some sense derived from or dependent on consciousness. This might sound strange at first, but it's not as far-fetched as you might think. After all, everything we know about the world comes to us through our conscious experience. These different perspectives on consciousness have profound implications for how we understand reality. If materialism is correct, then our conscious experiences are essentially a kind of illusion, a useful trick that evolution has given us to help us navigate the world. But if idealism is correct, then consciousness might be the most fundamental aspect of reality, with the physical world being a kind of shared dream or projection. Interestingly, some findings in quantum mechanics seem to blur the line between these perspectives. In quantum physics, there's a phenomenon known as the observer effect, where the act of observing a quantum system can actually change its behavior. Some interpret this to mean that consciousness plays a fundamental role in shaping reality at the quantum level. Of course, we need to be careful not to overinterpret these findings. Quantum mechanics is notoriously difficult to understand, and many scientists caution against drawing too many philosophical conclusions from it. Still, it's fascinating to consider how our deepest scientific theories might relate to the nature of consciousness and reality. Another way we can explore the nature of consciousness is by looking at altered states of consciousness. Meditation, for example, allows people to achieve states of awareness quite different from our everyday consciousness. Some meditators report experiences of unity with the universe, or of transcending their usual sense of self. Similarly, psychedelic substances can produce profound alterations in consciousness, sometimes leading to experiences that feel more real than everyday reality. And near-death experiences often involve vivid, life-changing alterations in consciousness that challenge our usual understanding of reality. These altered states raise intriguing questions. If consciousness is just a product of normal brain function, why can it be altered so dramatically? And what do these experiences tell us about the nature of consciousness and reality? In recent years, scientists have developed new theories to try to explain consciousness. One influential idea is the global workspace theory. This theory suggests that consciousness arises when information is broadcast widely across different parts of the brain, creating a kind of global workspace that different cognitive processes can access. This theory is appealing because it helps explain some of the key features of consciousness, like its unified nature and its limited capacity. It also provides a framework for understanding how unconscious processes can become conscious and vice versa. But while theories like this are helping us understand how consciousness might work in the brain, they still don't fully address the hard problem of why we have subjective experiences at all. This remains one of the deepest mysteries in science and philosophy. As we consider these deep questions about consciousness, it's natural to wonder about the implications for artificial intelligence. Can machines ever be truly conscious? If consciousness is just a product of information processing, then perhaps sufficiently advanced AI could be conscious. But if consciousness involves something more, something beyond mere computation, then machine consciousness might be impossible. This isn't just a theoretical question. As AI systems become more advanced, we'll need to grapple with difficult ethical questions about how to treat these systems. If they can be conscious, do they deserve moral consideration? How would we even know if a machine was conscious? Exploring these questions about consciousness can have profound implications for our personal growth and self-awareness. By questioning our assumptions about the nature of consciousness and reality, we open ourselves up to new ways of understanding ourselves and our place in the universe. For example, if we recognize that our perception of reality is in many ways a construction of our minds, we might become more open to different perspectives and less rigid in our beliefs. We might cultivate a sense of wonder at the mystery of existence and a deeper appreciation for the richness of our conscious experiences. Moreover, practices like meditation can help us explore our own consciousness more directly. By turning our attention inward and observing our own mental processes, we can gain insights into the nature of our minds and potentially even glimpse deeper levels of consciousness. As we've seen, the question of consciousness touches on some of the biggest mysteries in science and philosophy. It relates to fundamental questions about the nature of reality, the possibility of free will, and the meaning of human existence. If consciousness is fundamental to reality, as some theories suggest, then perhaps we're not just passive observers of the universe, but active participants in its unfolding. This perspective can be deeply empowering, suggesting that our thoughts and actions might have more significance than we typically assume. On the other hand, if consciousness is just an emergent property of brain activity, this doesn't make it any less wondrous or important. The fact that the movement of atoms and electrons can give rise to the rich inner world of human experience is, in its own way, utterly astonishing. Either way, exploring these questions can lead us to a greater appreciation of the mystery and wonder of existence. It can inspire us to live more consciously, to pay more attention to our experiences, and to treat others with greater empathy and understanding. We've seen that consciousness is intimately tied to our perception of reality, and that this perception is in many ways a construction of our brains. We've explored different theories about the nature of consciousness, from materialist views that see it as an emergent property of brain activity, to idealist perspectives that view consciousness as fundamental to reality. We've touched on the implications of consciousness for artificial intelligence, personal growth, and our understanding of our place in the universe. And we've seen how exploring these questions can lead to a deeper appreciation of the mystery and wonder of existence. But perhaps the most important takeaway is this: the nature of consciousness remains one of the deepest mysteries in science and philosophy. While we've made progress in understanding how the brain works and how it might give rise to conscious experiences, we're still far from fully understanding why we have subjective experiences at all. This mystery isn't just an academic puzzle. It's an invitation to wonder, to explore, and to dive deeper into the nature of our own minds and reality itself. By questioning our assumptions and exploring our own consciousness, we open ourselves up to new insights and potentially transformative experiences. So what do you think? Is consciousness just a construction of your mind, or is it something more fundamental to reality? How does pondering these questions change your perspective on yourself and the world around you? We encourage you to keep exploring these questions. Read books on consciousness and the philosophy of mind. Try meditation or other practices that allow you to explore your own consciousness more directly. Engage in discussions with others about these deep questions. The goal isn't necessarily to find definitive answers, but to cultivate a sense of wonder and openness to the mystery of existence. By doing so, we can enrich our lives and potentially gain new insights into the nature of reality and our place within it. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of consciousness. We hope it sparked your curiosity and inspired you to dive deeper into these fascinating questions. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep marveling at the wonder of your own conscious experience.